What up, Leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Pandan Superman, the mayor of Hype City, Hazyrome, and as always, I'm joined by the Gotham Knight, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, Deepboyce. And today we're in the Hall of Spoilers to name the top 5 Arrowverse characters who should replace Firestorm on Legends of Tomorrow. So, this conversation is sort of based on some comments made by Mark Guggenheim, who's, an executive producer for Legends of Tomorrow. Now, comicbook.com, great site, they asked Mark Guggenheim whether or not there was a plan in place to replace Firestorm, what the plan was going to be, and whether or not we could see characters like the Ray take his place. The Ray's actor, Russell Tovey, if I'm not mistaken, is still tied up right now, so he's not available and will not be on this list. But Mark Guggenheim said the following: "We do have a plan for how to replace Firestorm on the bridge, and it's a really cool one. It's one we're really excited about. There's really like 2 empty chairs on the Waverider, so we do have a great game plan, or we do have a game plan." He didn't say great. "We've always had a game plan. I just can't talk about the game plan. The CW publicity will determine when we get to unleash that bit of news." So, comicbook.com also asked him whether or not the character was already in the Arrowverse, or if they'd be new to the party. And Mark Guggenheim responded, "It's a returning," meaning a returning character. "It's a previously established character from the Arrowverse." So, Deepboyce.
Yep.
Top 5 characters. We've got 2 honorable mentions.
Yes, we do.
Characters already established in the Arrowverse who could be replacing Firestorm on Legends of Tomorrow. Big shoes to fill, my friend.
Indeed. One of the more beloved characters that kind of made his appearance on The Flash, and unfortunately, it's come to an end. We've had many discussions about how well or how well they may or may not be using him. But I guess the era of Firestorm is over. So we kind of came together with this top 5 list. And I guess our first honorable mention is the character that made an appearance in Legends of Tomorrow. And that's Jonah Hex. I guess a somewhat renowned DC character, Dark Horse character, I believe, who kind of made his way into the DC fold. And he's basically just a cowboy with some mystical abilities here and there.
I mean, I think the coolest thing about Jonah Hex is that Jonah Hex has had time traveling adventures in the comic books.
Yeah.
And I think Jonah Hex therefore can step into the role of a time traveler. That being said, he's aware of the Legends time traveling antics. He's aware of Rip Hunter. There's even alluded to that they have sort of a complicated relationship in the Legends of Tomorrow lore. And I think that Jonah Hex is sort of an out of time character whose values could clash in an interesting way with the Legends of Tomorrow cast. So, honorable mention there. Honestly, I'm not too big of a Jonah Hex fan, but definitely a character who I feel like he has a fan base, and one who's already been established and was played very well in the Legends of Tomorrow series run.
Yeah.
So
he's a cowboy.
But
You got a cowboy shooting people. Was the one to see
yeah,
that?
because Rip used to be sort of like the futuristic cowboy type character. He said something about him sort of had like I don't know. I guess he had sort of a Western feel to the way he operated. You know what I mean? From his look down to his gun toting and his shooting and stuff like that. But Deepboyce, next honorable mention. Okay, this one's a little bit of a. This was a little bit of a stretch here, okay? That's why he didn't make the official list. And that is Ted Kord, a.k.a. Blue Beetle. Now, you may be thinking, Blue Beetle has not appeared in the Arrowverse. No, he has not. However, he has been referenced a lot. And, for me, the way I sort of, interpreted Mark Guggenheim was that, by him saying it's a previously established character from the Arrowverse, it could be a character who has been established, which is Ted Kord. Ted Kord has been established. He may not have been shown, but he has been established. Now, he doesn't quite fit the bill because Mark Guggenheim also said it's a returning character, and he hasn't been on the Arrowverse, therefore it's sort of impossible for him to return. But in discussing this whole issue with Firestorm and who should replace him, it's also important to note that the character of Ray Palmer was actually supposed to be Ray Palmer, and that they wanted to see Blue Beetle in the Arrowverse. And it's a question that actually came up at Long Island's ACE Comic-Con, in December 2017, in which showrunner Mark Guggenheim actually talked about how the intention was to bring Blue Beetle to the show, and that intention has not dissipated in any way. So it'd be nice to see him step into the role, especially since Mark Guggenheim also said that there are technically 2 seats available, with Jax and Martin Stein having left the team as Firestorm, respectively. So, Ted Cord, everybody. But Deepboyce, it's time to get into the top 5, okay? Honorable mentions out the way. This is the serious list. This is the list that we want to see. Deepboyce, hit us with number 5.
Number 5 is Katana, a character who first made an appearance in the Arrowverse in Arrow and was also in Suicide Squad, but we don't talk about Suicide Squad. She's been in the Arrowverse, and she was actually rather well done and fleshed out rather well, involved in a number of backstories with Oliver Queen, and eventually kind of came into the present as well with Oliver Queen, and I guess a proto Legends of Tomorrow team there. I mean, you had, I guess, Sara Lance, and you had Ray Palmer and Katana and a few other people kind of thrown in there, and you saw her in action plenty of times. But I think one of the cooler aspects of not just the character in general, but the way that she can kind of fit in to a time-traveling team is the fact that she has this katana, the sword, that has the souls of a ton of people that the sword, people who have used the sword have vanquished. So basically you get killed by the katana and your soul gets trapped into the sword. And they haven't really gotten into specifics, and I don't know what the details are within the comics, but they could easily say, I mean, Japanese culture, Japanese history has gone for more than 1,000 years. They can easily kind of insert, great warriors, samurai, people throughout history that have either been vanquished or have come across someone using this sword who's now in possession by the character of Katana. She would kind of fit right in, and she's different enough from the goofy Legends of Tomorrow to kind of stand out on her own.
Sure. And, she's sort of a serious character, which is sort of like what Vixen is on the show. But I feel like, her brand of seriousness could offer some comedic relief that Vixen's character simply doesn't offer in Legends of Tomorrow. I just feel like she's just not... Like, Legends of Tomorrow is always trying to go for comedy, and I feel like Vixen, doesn't really play to that too much. But what's important about Katana also is that the way her storyline ended in season 3, we know her son died in the past, we know her husband also died. We feel like Katana's story is sort of wide open, and therefore leaves room for her to sort of be looking for the next step to take. The next thing for her to tackle, the next goal she has in life. And I feel like that sort of is a theme of these Legends of Tomorrow characters who don't quite know what they want to do with their lives, and thus they find a purpose through saving time or ruining time. One of the important things too that I think is cool is that, once again, referring back to comments from Mark Guggenheim at Long Island's ACE Comic-Con, he was asked about Katana and whether we could see that character return, and this is what he had to say. He says, "We talk about that all the time, actually. We love Katana. We love the actress who plays her. Ketsu Shimizu, who's a writer on Arrow, who wrote a lot of the Katana episodes in season 3 of Arrow, is now a co-EP on Legends and has great affection for that character, even more so than I do. And I have a lot of affection for the character, and we're always talking about it. It's totally in the offing, totally a possibility." Right there from the mouth of one EP and somebody who has a direct tie, who actually works on Legends, Keto Shimizu. So definitely a possibility, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Deepboyce on to number 4, baby.
Number
4.
Go ahead, Hazy. I'm sorry.
We've got a character we haven't seen in the Arrowverse for a long time, and that is Huntress. All right, a super underused character, and sort of if you're familiar with DC Comics, if you've been reading DC Rebirth lately, I think that Huntress is a cool, badass character who could sort of come into fruition on Legends of Tomorrow, especially since the last time we left Huntress in the Arrowverse live action series. I'm not talking about any Arrowverse related comic book material, because she has appeared in those materials. But I'm talking about where we left her on Arrow, is that she got arrested for taking vengeance on the people who, killed her loved one. And, she went to jail, and she's in prison. And what do we know about the Legends is that they're all misfits. And another thing we know about them is that they're all trying to find some sort of redemption for past actions or previous history. And I think that with Huntress, she can sort of have a second chance to realize her the direction that she took in murdering someone in order to achieve vengeance wasn't necessarily the best course of action. That being said, Huntress is a character who definitely toes the line between whether or not, it's right to kill. Like, there are definitely instances where she believes she's sort of like Red Hood, except, not, I wouldn't say, like, Red Hood's a little bit of a, I don't know, I guess he's way more traumatized than Huntress is, if I had to say, because he actually died and was brought back. But she's sort of like Red Hood in saying that some people deserve to die. And I think that could clash well, especially with the character like Sara Lance, who has dealt with this ideology before, who has been there. And, Huntress, once again, dope character with a cool look, and she could bring some gritty fighting scenes to Legends of Tomorrow. What say you, boys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having Helena Bertinelli as a member of the Legends brings about another strong female character, which this show has been doing a rather good job of having. Obviously, some mixed results, but you have characters like Sara Lance that are great. And like you said, pairing the two of them together could make for some interesting storytelling, especially when they have to maybe take on some more serious threats. Whether or not, dealing with topics of life or death and crime and punishment and how to deal with evildoers. And, they wrapped her character up, I guess, in a way that makes sense. That's not to say that they can't open that right up and then continue going forward with that character who's been a long-standing character in the comics. And there's a lot that you can definitely do with Huntress. And having, they have had budgetary concerns on that show, and I feel like a character like Huntress wouldn't put them in the red, so to speak.
Yeah, it wouldn't break the bank in terms of CG renderings or anything like that. I also think it's cool that the Arrowverse has continually toyed with the notion of the Birds of Prey, and Huntress has extensive history as being a member of the Birds of Prey. So there's some crossover potential there. Or not only that, but Sara Lance is a canary. She's a white canary, but she's a canary. Yes. Also, a character who has history with the Birds of Prey. So yet another character who could, jump into that potential team. And who's to say the Birds of Prey has to be through characters like it normally is? Could be more than that. And CW Arrowverse shows have plenty of female characters, women characters to choose from in that respect.
Or they could do.
I'd love to see some Birds of Prey action myself.
They could do something a little different, and let's say if Legends of Tomorrow ends, they can kind of, the spiritual successor to Legends of Tomorrow would be Birds of Prey with, Huntress, Sara Lance, somebody else, maybe Ray Palmer's in the back on the computer, providing support.
Yeah, maybe even Black Canary. Maybe even it could be Laura Lance's Earth 2 counterpart as the Black Canary character. It could be Dinah Drake as the Black Canary character. I'd be down for that. I'd be down for some Birds of Prey stuff. I mean, we've kind of always said like that's sort of like a secret wish to see some Birds of Prey action on there. But hey, you never know. Deepboyce, number 3 on this list. Now we're getting into people I feel like people that the fans out there probably hoping for make it onto the Legends of Tomorrow team. Who we got at number 3, man?
Number 3 is Mr. Kid Flash himself. Wally West.
Yes, sir.
The most underutilized speedster probably in the Arrowverse. That'd be next to Jessie Quick.
Yes.
I mean, please, let's bring her back. She's great. I mean, come on.
Also, Black Flash. Black Flash was pretty...
Yes. True.
But, considering Kid Flash, Wally West is such a huge character in Flash lore, he has sadly not lived up to potential on the Flash.
No. And at this point, he's playing, I wouldn't even say second fiddle. I'd say he's like fourth fiddle to the elongated man on Team Flash in the Flash show. And we don't entirely know what's going on behind the scenes and what the decisions are, but it pains me to say he isn't necessarily needed on the Flash. I mean, he hasn't been on it, and it hasn't really hurt the show in any way, shape, or form. But like Hazy said, he is kind of a major character. He is kind of a big property to have in your hands. So they definitely should make use of Kid Flash. And since, the Legends are drafting, so to speak, he might fit right in. And it wouldn't hurt. It'd be kind of cool to actually have a speedster on the Legends of Tomorrow team as they travel through time.
Yeah. And, you know, they sort of tested that out already in the season premiere of Legends of Tomorrow, where they had Kid Flash interacting with Citizen Steel. And, you know, it definitely, listen, I will be the first one to say that I'm not necessarily a fan of the portrayal of Kid Flash on The Flash. I like Kid Flash, the character. I want this Kid Flash to be successful and great. I just feel like he's sort of bland. And he's, you know, Kid Flash is sort of a wisecrack and smart mouth character, whether it be, you know, the original redhead Wally West or the biracial Wally West. But either way you slice it, he's lacking some personality. Now, with the Legends, with that show sort of being a little bit more open to comedic dialogue and, you know, banter between the team, that being such an important factor, I think Kid Flash might fit in well. Also, based on some comics by former executive producer Andrew Kreisberg regarding Kid Flash on The Flash, and I'm going to read that quote in just a second, it may be better, it may be a little bit easier, budgetary-wise, to have Kid Flash on Legends of Tomorrow. So, regarding Kid Flash's appearance and, you know, his seeming departure this season, season 4 of The Flash, here and there, here's what Andrew Kreisberg had to say. There are things that will become clear as the season goes on, referring to season 4. For us, it's difficult having two speedsters on the show, just creatively and financially. There are a lot of times where Barry had to get knocked out so Wally could save the day, or Wally had to get knocked out so Barry could save the day. Just even in knocking them out, that costs a lot of money. And then just also creatively having to go through that scenario a lot. Wally is not gone, certainly from the Arrowverse. He'll be back on The Flash, and more exciting stuff about Wally will be revealed as we move forward. I think that last part was particularly interesting, his wording. Mm-hmm. Wally is not gone, certainly from the Arrowverse. He'll be back on The Flash, and more exciting stuff about Wally will be revealed as we move forward. So I think that is telling as to whether or not we could see Kid Flash, you know, appear on Legends of Tomorrow and join that cast, especially since they already established that he has that relationship with Citizen Steel. Cool stuff right there.
True. Yeah.
Definitely some potential.
Absolutely.
But Deepboyce, on to number 2. Another fan favorite and a personal favorite of myself and Deepboyce, and that is Rory Harper, a.k.a. Arsenal, a.k.a. if they want to call him Red Arrow, that'd be fine with us. Red Arrow. Okay. We want Rory Harper back on the show. We want Rory Harper back in the Arrowverse, period. We'd want him ideally on Arrow, but hey, we like Rory Harper. And for somebody who in the Arrowverse has taken the fall for being, you know, the Arrow character, you know, the vigilante before the Green Arrow mantle, who is sort of on the run at this point in time, hiding his identity, who will appear in the 15th episode of Arrow Season 6. It would be interesting to see this guy who is maybe having a tough time living out his life, having, you know, thrown away his previous identity as Roy Harper. Maybe he goes to the Legends, and that would, you know, freely allow him to be himself. He wouldn't have to hide who he is. He wouldn't have to worry about being on the run because he's out of time. Who the hell's going to find him? Who the hell's going to come and persecute and prosecute him on the Legends of Tomorrow ship? Certainly not the FBI or anybody else who's chasing him.
Maybe the Time Bureau.
Maybe... listen, the Time Bureau is not going to give a damn about the Time Bureau or whatever bureau is not going to give a damn about him taking a fall for the Arrow. Case closed. You know, as far as they're concerned, as far as time is concerned, the Roy Harper character died, which is such a beautiful way to sort of introduce him into time travel shenanigans. Because one of the things about time travel is that if, you know, a character, you know, isn't important to the time stream, that they could sort of be displaced and then just be replaced, you know, at the appropriate time. But technically, Roy Harper's dead. So why not? I feel like I'd love to see him personally.
I mean, that's, you said it right there. Why not? I mean, you're talking about a diamond in the cut. I mean, this is arguably one of the best Arrowverse characters that they've created on any of these shows, or, you know, obviously on Arrow, who, you know, didn't exactly get a great send-off, in my opinion. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't to the caliber of how great I think this character is. And there's a ton of history there. And there's you know, fans are very fond of Colton Haynes' portrayal of Roy Harper. And honestly, whenever anything new pops up, they want to see Roy Harper in something, whether it's Titans or Legend of Tomorrow. Hell, I wouldn't even be surprised if people wanted to see him in Black Lightning somehow. They just want to see Roy Harper pop up in something. And again, a character having kind of an established, a well-established backstory, I think does nothing but good for not only the character but the surroundings in which they get placed into. I mean, look at the leader of the Legends, which is Sara Lance. She already had a well-storied history background that we saw play out in a previous show, and she's consistently one of the best characters on that show. No offense to any of the other characters, especially some of the newer ones. We're looking at you, Citizen Steel, but they're not quite up to snuff or quite as interesting as Sara Lance or Firestorm or Ray Palmer. And I think Rory Harper would kind of fill in that trend of a character that, was kind of cultivated within the Arrowverse proper and then kind of inserted into the Legends. And he has, a unique skill set that I think works very well for the Legends. I think it kind of works a little bit better when you have more hand-to-hand combat-based characters as opposed to characters with kind of overt crazy powers. Those characters either get underutilized or they don't just, they don't fit in quite as well as some of the other Legends. So, like with everything Hazy said, I totally agree. Roy Harper he should be in something. If not Legends, put him back in Arrow, put him back in something, because he's just a great character overall.
Yeah, I mean, Colton Haynes, when he originally left the Arrow show, it was sort of said that by him that, it was to further his career, it's to, to explore what directions his career could go in. But, he later revealed in an interview with Entertainment Weekly that the reason he asked to step away was because, and, I'm going to read his quote, "I asked to step away because I cared more about my mental and physical health than my career at the time. I've had terminal anxiety my entire life, physically ill, fainting. I'm 27 years old, and I've had an ulcer. I had to step back." And I think that, a lot of that had to do with, many personal reasons. And while you always suffer with issues like that, with, mental health issues like that, I think Colton Haynes, and he sort of said this in interviews, he's in a much better place right now. And I think that, while we wish for characters to come back, we also have to remember that there are humans behind these characters playing them. And Colton Haynes just may be in the right mindset or the state of mind to step back into such a prominent role, into a role in which he was so beloved. So it would be a great homecoming, not just for the Rory Harper character, but also for Colton Haynes, who had to step back from Arrow before he really wanted to. You know what I'm saying? It was sort of something he had to do for his survival. You know what I mean? And it'd be great to see not just Rory Harper back, but Colton Haynes back as well, just for fighting a good fight. You know what I'm saying? So that's sort of a layered reason why I want to see Colton Haynes back in particular. But on to number one, Deepboyce, another fan favorite. We're topping off the list with this guy, Deepboyce. Let him know.
Number one on the list is actually a character that kind of made a sneaky little reappearance on this very show, and that's John Constantine.
Good character.
Great character. A character who had his own show that unfortunately was canceled. Not enough people were watching it, but the people that did see it rather enjoyed it, and they enjoyed it so much that they got Stephen Amell, the ultimate string puller, to get him onto Arrow, and people also enjoyed him on Arrow, and somehow Constantine made his way onto Legends as well. And the reason we're putting him at number one is because we feel that character honestly fits in well almost wherever you put him, and the little that we saw of him excited us as to the possibilities of him interacting with the Legends. And since there's a spot open with Firestorm out of the mix, hell, why not John Constantine traveling through time, throwing some spells out, smoking some cigarettes, being a cheeky bastard, all that good stuff.
Yeah, Matt Ryan I think has done an amazing job as Constantine. He's been so good as Constantine. They actually got him to voice John Constantine in the Justice League Dark animated film. Constantine is also getting his Arrowverse animated series that is supposed to 100% be a part of the Arrowverse. And I think that Matt Ryan, we haven't seen the last of him. I think we haven't seen the last of him as Constantine. I can say that if there was anything that's holding it back, is that the Legends team is currently sort of magic based or mystical based with Zari and Vixen being characters on the show. But there's always room for a character like Constantine. I think that Legends of Tomorrow has sort of stepped into the mystical aspect of things in season 3. And why not have an expert on mysticism like John Constantine? I mean, one of the things that's interesting about Zari and Vixen is that they don't fully understand the mystical nature of their powers just yet. And a character like Constantine could bring that knowledge sort of as a mentor to them. And it may not be a permanent stay on the team. It may not. It may also mean that maybe these characters, Vixen or Zari, having learned what they need to learn, step back, into the places that they feel like they belong. I mean, Vixen in particular, she sort of had this conviction that, 1, she should be in her proper time, and 2, she may even need to go back to Zambezi to take care of her people. So I think Constantine can not just help in adding another smart-ass character to the team, and also a character who sort of wants to seek out his own goals, and he has his own motives before anyone else's, because Constantine is notoriously a selfish character. But I think that he could also help other characters on the team grow, which is important, I think, to the development of Legends of Tomorrow, and just in general, our sanity in watching Legends of Tomorrow, because sometimes it does not feel like that team is growing at all. Sometimes it feels like they're just retreading water. A guy like Constantine might be able to mix it up, and he also might help them get into more hijinks, which is what Legends of Tomorrow team is already known for, because Constantine is just, that dude is trouble. Yes. I like Constantine, but that guy is trouble.
And let's agree, if they do get into some hijinks together, that it does not involve the blue teddy bear in any way, shape, or form.
Bebo. Oh, man. But that being said, but see, Deepboyce, we had a nice top 5 going. Deepboyce had to bring it down with that whack-ass Bebo talk, man. That was probably, that Bebo episode was horrible. But that is not what this video is about. What this video is about is hearing what you guys think of our top 5 characters who should replace Firestorm, including our honorable mentions. Let us know if you agree with this list. Let us know if you disagree with this list. Let us know who your top 5 returning Arrowverse characters to replace Firestorm should be. And by all means, support the Spectacular Spoiler League by hitting the subscribe button and turning on notifications so you can be up to date with the latest and greatest coming from the Spectacular Spoiler League. Drop us a like. Help us get this video out here and recruit. Help us get this video out here and recruit more leaguers to the cause. Thank you guys so much for checking the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.